You're listening to
They're going to call it a hard foul. They're going to call it a hard foul.
offering in-depth analysis on all things Boston Celtics with your hosts, Jim and Mike Quigley.
1-0, Celtics impress in a big way, especially offensively last night. Played nearly a perfect offensive game. Some extensions around the league too, Mike, and we should hit on those quickly at the end and have those relate to what the Celtics have done, and maybe they actually have bargains with some of their extensions now when you compare them to what's been going on. But last night it was it looked like a shoot-around for the Celtics. It was almost too easy at times. It didn't seem like they had any contested shots that they were putting up. They nearly broke the three-point record. It was kind of humorous how that ended. But my first takeaway, I'm going to go first, Mike, then hand it right over to you, is just Jayson Tatum looked awesome. Obviously, 10 of 14, and I forget what he was from 3, 6 of 8, or whatever he was. Some of those with hands right in his face. And his passing was still just on point. There was one play I wanted to highlight late in the third quarter where he had the ball over on the left-hand side of the floor, out by the three-point line, foul line extended, and he threw a whip pass with his left hand to Derek White across the floor, right in Derek White's shooting pocket. Derek White went right into a shot and hit a three. It was off the dribble, whip, left-handed shot, just kind of brilliant. I feel like if Luka had done it to someone like that, it's all people would be talking about. But it was just a great pass. He played a great game. And the Celtics, won despite the Knicks, at least in the fourth quarter. I don't know what they finished at, but when all the regulars came out, was shooting 60%. So this team, it was as someone put it on Twitter last night, it was kind of Celtics porn last night. You get the banner, and then you get the '07 Patriots version of the Boston Celtics doing whatever they want offensively against this Knicks team that just did not look capable of matching up. So those are my opening thoughts, Mike. I'll turn it over to you, but good night. Great night, fun night all the way around.
Yeah, it definitely was. I think Tatum actually went 14 for 18 from the field.
Oh, is that what it was? Yeah, pretty impressive.
Yeah, 10 assists. He was awesome. I think he was 25 and 6 at the end of the first half. Just the Celtics were moving the ball so well that most of the shots weren't even contested. The Knicks couldn't even get in time to get a real hand up. Everything looked kind of open and easy on offense. Defensively, they took away the three-point line.
Especially early.
Yeah, they were kind of baiting the Knicks to go inside, and the Knicks were efficient scoring inside. But when you're hitting that many threes, it really doesn't matter if the other team's not shooting them, and the Knicks weren't. I think at one point the Celtics were 11 for 16, and the Knicks were 0 for 2, or something like that in the first half. It was a crazy stat. There's no way you can't compete that way. And Reggie Miller kept saying the Knicks are shooting 55% right now. They're shooting 55% right now, but they were a difficult 55% because most of the shots were contested. They were in the paint. The Celtics were putting smaller guys on Cat, and it was kind of forcing the Knicks to have him play kind of free throw line extended a little bit and not really beyond the three-point line. I only think he took, 3 3-point attempts last night?
Yeah, it wasn't very many.
Yeah, so I don't know if the Celtics baited him into that by putting smaller guys on him, but it worked. Cat was efficient, but he didn't take a lot of shots. And he didn't really create for others. And as much as the Knicks invested in their team to have wings to defend Tatum and Brown, the deficiencies of Brunson and Cat defensively.
Yeah, I'm glad you got into this. Yep.
They just can't match up because the Celtics just find that matchup. And quite honestly, maybe Josh Hart just had a bad night, but defensively last night, he wasn't good either. The Celtics were able to get whatever they wanted against him. And as much as everybody likes the Knicks offseason, I see some holes there. Anunoby's not a great 3-point shooter. I've never thought he's been like a true threat from out there. Josh Hart certainly didn't work on his three this offseason because he's still afraid to shoot it. So you got two guys that the Celtics don't really respect from three. So as much as they were defending,
and then Mikal Bridges, I know he kind of got going late, but he certainly has his problems.
He certainly he didn't look right. He didn't look right at all. In the second half, he did though. So maybe he found it. And he's the type of guy that's always been able to hit threes. So I don't know what's going on with him, but I don't think the Knicks are as hard to defend sometimes with some of the guys they have on the floor. So to beat the Celtics in a 7-game series, I just don't see it. I know we're only one game in, but KP's not even out there, and I don't think they match up well with Boston, and I actually think Boston, despite Cat and Brunson, still match up with the Knicks really well.
Yeah, it's like the Knicks didn't really have a plan for if Tatum started hitting shots. They started putting Cat in action early in the game, and he wouldn't even step up to the 3-point line, and Tatum would just kind of have these walk-in jump shots, right? Off the dribble, off the screen, because, Anunoby I think it was Anunoby that was on him, just couldn't get over the screen, and they were able to just kind of step right into it, and Cat wouldn't contest it at all. And then they started putting two on the ball to kind of get away from that, and the Celtics would just move the ball and find the open man quickly and get a wide open look for three. You saw late in the game, Mike, they would put either Cat or Jalen Brunson into action, and they end up getting whatever they want when they do that. It is a problem for the Knicks because they have two guys that are just kind of minus defenders. One in Brunson because of his size, and Cat because he's just not good. And you brought up Josh Hart. I'm glad you did because they're small at the two guard positions, right? A point guard, and then Hart's. He's not tiny, but he's not a big two guard by any means. So when, he's forced to switch out on either Tatum or Brown are pretty comfortable just being patient and getting to where they want. And that's the thing with the Celtics is that they are as relentless as anybody in the NBA and as good and as creative as anybody is getting the matchups they want and then attacking them. And I feel like you can get away with having one guy as a weak defender out there if you surround them with a bunch of, strong defenders that are also good offensive players. Then you could probably get away with it. You can hide that guy. You can figure it out. When you have two on the floor at once against the Celtics team, they're going to make you pay. The only hope you have is that they miss. That's it. And it becomes a problem for them. And I do think there's something to what you said defensively, although you can see, like, if the Knicks are committed to it, how they can figure out to get the shots they want, even if, Anunoby isn't hitting a three as well. McBride certainly someone they can bring in the game to kind of help spark their offense. I think offensively the Knicks will be able to figure it out, especially when that Cat Brunson pick and roll really perfects itself. That's going to be a dangerous thing. It's on the other end where they just are going to have problems. And you're right too. The Celtics are basically saying to Cat, "We're going to put a holiday on you, and when you're not really going to get the cross match that you want, where you're going to be able to set up and take the three. You're going to have to go inside and try to make us pay by beating him one-on-one." There was an early moment in the game where I think Horford doubled to help Holiday, and I actually think that was probably a mistake. I think they're perfectly fine with Cat backing him down and trying to, score off a jump hook or whatever. Just telling Holiday not to foul and take away that 3-point shot. So it was interesting. It didn't seem like Tibbs had any answers on how to defend these guys. They went into the offseason and they went into last season making moves for Anunoby and Bridges to match up with the Celtics. That was clearly their intent. They brought in Towns to kind of play the 5-out style that the Celtics do. That was clearly their intent. And I feel like they have brought in players to play a Celtic style, but they're players that are not nearly as good as what the Celtics have out there. So they're trying to match their style with less talent, whether it's on one end or the other. And I thought that was kind of proven out last night where they just didn't have any answers for them. And it's interesting to see what will happen as, guys get a little healthier or whatever, and, they get more continuity over there. But as of today, it was a tough night for the Knicks.
Yeah, it was a tough night for the Knicks, and it's hard to beat a team when they hit 29 threes.
Of course.
Impossible, so the Celtics aren't going to shoot like that every time they play New York. The games will certainly be closer. I think what you're saying, it's not just the Knicks. Everybody's trying to emulate the way the Celtics built their roster and played. It was early in the first half last night. The Lakers were 3 for 20 from three. I mean, they're launching them. They have a whole new way of playing, even though their guys can't shoot. So I think that most teams are trying to compete with the Celtics by having that same kind of offense. But Boston's, we just got so many guys. It's just, Derek White's obviously full of confidence. So isn't Holiday. And it's whenever you start a season, everybody's fresh. The Celtics just shoot lights out. They're probably going to break records again in October and November, and they'll hit their drought in December like they normally do. So, I expect a lot of blowouts here to start the season.
Yeah, well, it just kind of feels like last night was an extension even better than last year, where it was just a ton of blowouts. And I'm glad you brought up Derek White too, because it seems like he is a little bit more aggressive offensively to find his own offense from game one, and that'd be interesting to see if that continues out. It was a perfect night. TNT screwed us by not allowing fans to see the banner go up.
That was weird.
That's the best part of the whole thing. It's better than the speeches, everything. Everyone just wants to see the banner go up, and then TNT going away from that was weird. But beyond that, if you're a Celtics fan, that's a perfect opening night, and they certainly look like a team that is, you get a sense of what their high water mark is. They play a perfect offensive game. But the scary thing, if you're the Knicks or the rest of the league, is, okay, they don't shoot like that, and they hit 16 threes instead of 29, and they find ways to beat you other ways by going inside and locking in more on the defensive end. Like, there were other parts of their game that were not unlocked last night because they weren't shooting well. And we now have enough of a track record on this team to know that, when things aren't falling, they have other ways to beat you, and they do beat you that way. So it's just kind of it's got to be a little frightening preparing for this team right now because of all the things they can do, and whether it's locking in defensively, their ability to defensive rebound, obviously their shooting, their ball movement, and then when they have to, they have two guys that can get to the goal whenever they want, and then they have other guys like White and Holiday that are able to create and find for other people. It just becomes very, very tough to get ready and look at these guys. And that's a good way for me, Mike, to transition into the other place they're winning. And I know the Celtics whole tax situation, and they're going to have to make decisions. But the contracts and extensions they have signed guys to, whether it's Pritchard, Hauser, White, Holiday, and you see what other teams around the league are doing. Last night was Gobert and these guys on this rookie contract, Johnson out in Atlanta, and you see the money that these guys are getting in comparison to what the Celtics have done. these contracts are starting to look like bargains, particularly Derek White's, and even Porzingis's doesn't look bad at all. If you look ahead on this stuff, you got to wonder, one of the bonuses down the line is that maybe these contracts aren't going to be that tough to move at all if and when they actually have to get under the tax and do different things. The management structure on this team is really excellent.
It is. It sure is. And the fact that they were able to bring them all back is pretty incredible. And that they're all healthy and they look focused. From the top down, the Celtics organization, they're top of the line, from the front office to the coaching and obviously the players. I mean, these guys are always ready to go. They seem really determined to do it again. And their players get better. They add things to their game every offseason, especially Tatum and Brown. I mean, those two, they look older. Like, they look like they grew up from the NBA Finals until now. Their whole demeanor and swagger is different. They look bigger once again. It's how they take care of their body is just, it's really a testament to the amount of work that they put into their career. And did Tatum improve his 3-point shot this offseason? Is it another thing he's adding to his game? That it's going to be, last year he was more of a catch and shoot 3-point shooter for consistency. Are we looking at him bringing back that step back, dribble between his legs consistently like he did when he was a rookie? Because if that's happening, this is the kind of stuff we would see from superstars like Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant, where every offseason they brought something else to the table, even after they won a championship. Mm-hmm. So I'm starting to wonder, like, what kind of greatness are we going to experience? Is this what's really happening? Are we looking at an MVP type season for Jayson Tatum? Are we looking for even Jaylen Brown to improve more defensively, if that's possible, because he got even bigger this offseason? Because he didn't look like even though they got bigger, they didn't lose a step athletically. So, we're in the middle of something special, and I'm sticking to it. If this team's healthy, I don't know if there's a team in the NBA that can beat them in a 7-game series. And I heard this argument on Felger and Maz that would work with most players in the NBA that, hey, they're human. These two may be more concerned this year about their individual accolades and winning again. We love Tatum and Brown, but that's just people being human. That could hold the Celtics back. And, that's just not what I've seen from these two ever. I've never seen that from them.
Yeah.
So, like maybe Kobe and Shaq, that was a challenge for them, and they had to split up after, 3 championships. But I've never seen that from Tatum and Brown.
No, and even last night, the shots were, you could question a couple shots from Tatum, but that usually happens every game, right? And then I thought Brown got a little goofy at the end in the fourth quarter, which is fine. The game was out of hand.
Brown was trying to get his points.
Yeah, the game was out of hand. But everything else was really within the flow of the offense and what the defense gave them. And that's the thing with how the Celtics play. Those two guys don't really have to force it. They're going to get plenty of opportunities. And plenty of good looks and plenty of cross matches that really favor them, and I think it's kind of tough for media hosts that have to find different talking points, because it's going to get a little boring in some ways if that's your job with the Celtics team, because they're so good. And there isn't a lot of turmoil. There's no contract situations that you got to talk about. The most interesting thing from that perspective is the sale of the team and what happens next. But they were in a position where things are just in a really good spot. And I know another conversation that has had is, can Tatum rise to another level, and if that would hurt the team? Well, if he just shot a few points percentage better on his field goal in the playoffs, and then a 4 or 5 points better on his 3-point shot, everyone would be looking at his performance in the playoffs and the finals way differently, right? If he just made a few more open looks. And so, of course, he can raise it to another level, and it's not going to take much. It was kind of fixing whatever hitch in that shot, whatever happened to it last season, late in the year in the Olympics, and it seems like that was a focus. It certainly looks cleaner. His release is coming out quicker. It's coming out more towards the top. So, one game, all really good returns, and hopefully they continue to be just that. Mike, kind of a quicker pod today. Any closing thoughts for you?
No, this week is kind of filled with games that aren't very interesting. Yeah, they have the Wizards in Detroit, but I think early next week they play Milwaukee, so that's always something to look forward to when those two teams play.
And the Pacers, the Pacers really played them close in the regular season, beat them in the in-season tournament, and then, of course, the conference finals with 4, really competitive games. And
now, will this be the this will be the Wizards' opening night, or?
Unless they play tonight.
Must be, because they're not going to play it back-to-back.
No, do they play tonight?
I mean, the NBA really hates you if they open you up with a back-to-back to start the season.
Yeah, so it's probably their opening night then, tomorrow night. Not that I think it matters.
So maybe it'll be competitive for at least a half. NBA offense and to start the season is usually a little wacky because all these guys are fresh. So maybe these games against Detroit and Washington will be competitive for a little while at least. But yeah, I don't know. There's not a ton of storylines I want to cover. That's the schedule, and I have a feeling the Celtics are going to get off to a really fast start again, so that's exciting.
And Mike, I know you, speaking of the Pacers, I know you don't like looking at lines and things like that tonight, but if I was a betting man, I would look at the Pacers at 4.5 tonight against the Pistons, 2.5 in the first half, and over 59.5 points team total in the first half as well.
That could be a really high scoring game.
Yeah, I think, and I think the Pistons actually have NBA players on their team this year compared to last year. But
well, they brought in guys that other teams didn't really want. So they got Tobias Harris, which that might be a good spot for him just to put up numbers. And they brought in Tim Hardaway Jr., so he'll get playing time. So I guess that's good for his career. I don't know, but what I wanted to figure out, Jim, is when does the play-in tournament start? When do we start seeing those games?
This first one for Celtics is against Atlanta at sometime early next month, I think.
Oh, okay. So we got to wait till November. Well, I actually I can't wait for that. I actually enjoy that part of the schedule.
Yeah, it certainly helps. It certainly helps get things moving. But all right, one game in, 81 to go. 8.5 months. It's a long season, man, of basketball ahead of us. We'll talk to everyone soon.
All right.